Hello and welcome to another episode. Today we're going to be doing a bit of prep work inside the greenhouse, get things ready for when we plant out, which I'm hoping, fingers crossed, is going to be in the next week or two. I've also got some very cool stuff to show you with my hydroponics bed that I've built. I've come up with a pretty cool little fix for what I was doing last week. So join me right after this. Let's take a quick look around the small greenhouse. We can see the plants are really taking off. They are desperately in need of getting into the bigger greenhouse and into their final pots. But we can see that they're all doing really well. They're all healthy. I did have to put some snail pellets in here, so I did notice there were a few snails inside here, and those little blue things that you see, that's a deterrent for the snails. It should kill them, and so far it's been working. So this is the last time I'll be watering, I think, before I take them and put them into the bigger greenhouse and into their final pots. So I did get a few questions asking how do I water these. It's pretty straightforward. I try and do things the easiest way possible, especially when you have so many plants. It can be a bit challenging. So all I do is move a few plants aside and pour water into the base. It really is as simple as that. Get these plants back in there, and I do the same with all of the other trays. So it's pretty straightforward and nice and easy. So now it's time for something a little different, and I'm going to take you upstairs and show you something that I've been busy with the last few weeks. Something I bought recently was this thing right behind me, a 3D printer. I've been wanting one for a long time, but I really couldn't justify the price, and I thought, well, what good is it really? But I'm loving it. It's been amazing. So the main reason I got it originally was because obviously I build these little electronic gadgets that I've shown in a couple videos, controller boxes and that for my greenhouse, that sort of thing. And I wanted to be able to design something that looked a bit more like this rather than something that was just hacked together. So that's why I originally started using this for. But man, I've been finding so many uses, and I'll be showing you a couple of those today. So if you remember in my last video, for the overflow, all that I had was a pipe sticking through here with a bit of silicone around the end. That wasn't really a great solution because it wasn't very secure, and it had a couple of the little problems as well. So I decided to build one of these in my 3D modeling software and print it out, and there you go. It came out really well. Basically, it's just a bit of a copy of one of these. This is the one that I have for my pump inlet. So that just has a nut that goes underneath, pulls it down tight. So basically that's going to slot through that hole, and then the nut from underneath. Again, the nut is 3D printed as well, quite handy. And once that nut and everything is connected in there, that's going to be nice and firm in there. There'll be a bead of silicone underneath. I then have this here. I thought, why not just use what I already have? So I used this, which I will then be sticking this pipe into. And these are all nice tight fitting, so that's not going anywhere. I made this a tapered edge on the inside and as well over there. So that's going to go in there. I'll just cut this to size. And then one of the comments also mentioned, which I didn't really think about, if this does overflow, the pebbles here, I didn't realize they floated, but they would float, they would go down the hole. So I 3D printed a bit of a barrier for it. And that just pops on the top, and it'll stop any of the clay pebbles going through. And I thought to myself, why not do something a bit better than what I put together over here? This, I was MacGyvering a bit of a solution, but yeah, this is not great. This looks, I don't know, like a blind chicken put it together. So I decided to 3D print a more elegant solution, and I came up with this. So that there, it's got a bit of a gated entry at the top there, so nothing can go in. These slots here, again, nothing's going to get through there. Ultimately, that will work quite nicely. So again, just a push fit, it goes and slots in nicely over there. And you can see I've lined up these grooves. So the bottom of this drain thing here, there's a bit of a groove in it, and those line up with those grooves. So as much water that can come out will come out. So again, that's just going to go in there, and that will slot in. So let me get this in there, get a bit of silicone in, and I'll be right back with you. And there we go, that's a much more elegant solution. I think it looks far better than it did before, and I had a bit of fun doing the 3D printing part of it. So I'm gonna let that dry before I start testing the bed again. I need to let the silicone dry that's down around the edge here. One of the main reasons I wanted to get a 3D printer is because I wanted to have a better enclosure or project box for my my automation system that I have in my greenhouse. This is what I had before. That's a mess. I mean, it worked, and I was pretty proud of it. It did a good job, but I knew that it could look a lot better. I knew that it could be a lot neater, and yeah, it's a bit of a mess. I've done some work on a nice 3D printed box, which I'll show you in just a second. But before I do, I just want to point out a few things here. I have had questions in my videos in the comments about whether the devices that I'm using have any corrosion on them, and to be honest, this has nothing. This is the same one I've used for about 2 years now, and it's been in here 24/7. I haven't replaced it, haven't done anything special to weather seal it. I mean, this is a weatherproof box, but obviously I have holes drilled all over this thing, so it's not exactly weatherproof anymore. I have seen a bit of corrosion here, which I noticed, so there's a little bit there, but that's about it really. I mean, this is still working today. This is still working fine. If I plug it in, it's going to do the job. 4 relays, because I only had 2 pumps, lights and a fan. Things have moved on a little bit. So let's have a look at the new system. So this is the new system. I've just unscrewed it all because I need to put some bolts in the back here, but again, we have a nice 3D printed box. I mean, look at that thing. Another thing to point out, I had a temperature sensor in the other one, but it was just hanging out. It wasn't even properly attached anywhere. It was just hanging outside the box. But again, it worked. It did the job. This one here, so I've actually put standoffs inside, so we can see there to screw in the devices I'm using. I have switched over to an ESP32, which is it's the latest version pretty much of the ESP8266, which is in the other system. The reason I did that is because I needed a few more outputs and inputs, and as we can see here, this has a lot more inputs and outputs, GPIOs as they're called, general purpose input output, and that's because I am running a few more devices. You can see we have 6 relays over here, and that is basically 3 for the pumps. We have 2 for fans and 1 for lights. And of course we need a nice cover, and here we go. We've got our ChilliChump cover. Got my logo coming through there, and that'll just cover that up and make it look good. So let's test it out, and all we need to do is just tap on that there, and it should kick the fan on. It'll take a little bit of a delay because of the way that I've built my system. I don't want it polling my web server constantly. So there we go, the fan is on. This should reflect that it's on in a little while on the app itself. There we go. And if I tap it again, the fan will go off in about 10-15 seconds. There we go. Cool, so I'm happy with that. One more thing I was going to just show you is how I've set up the pumps. So these are the 3 pumps I'm using. They're all the same pumps. I've had good experience with them so far, so I'm quite happy with them. They put out 30 psi, but quite a good volume of water. The 2 outside ones are the ones that I had from before anyway, and this is the new one. You can see that because the filter here is nice and clean. I did try and give these a bit of a clean. They're as clean as they'll get. We have a Y split over here because I've split the water coming in so that it goes to this new pump as well, and that will then go out through that pipe into the push fit fittings, which you would have seen from a previous video. That's what's going to be pumping water into the polytunnel. We'll go have a look in there in a little while as well. You can see what I'm getting up to in there. The other pump over there, that one is just for actually doing the drip feeding inside here. So I've cleaned everything out. I gave this a good clean as well. This is just my mixing tank, which I put all the fertilizer in, and I'm happy with that. That one's nice and clean now and ready for the season. Need to still tidy up in here. We can see a hell of a mess. I pulled down these fans because obviously I've got that one fan over there. I just think it looks a lot neater, especially I don't know if you remember last season walking in here, all you see are fans running up against here. Now I'm quite tall. I kept hitting my head on the damn things, so taking them down, I think it looks a lot better. That's not to cool things down. I think I mentioned this before, but you know, the fans are just here to circulate air in here so it doesn't go stagnant. It also helps with the pollination. So yeah, let's have a quick look in the polytunnel and then we'll finish off for today. So there's not much to actually see in here, but I'll give you an idea of what I'm doing with the irrigation. Had a bit of a problem in this. So basically I'm using push fit fittings, which has been great for the stuff coming inside here, which again you would have seen in a previous video. The problem is this pipe that I'm using, it comes in massive rolls, and you can see with a smaller piece, you know, how bent it is. Now imagine that long length there just wants to stay bent, and it's been a bit of a pain. So what I've done is I've pegged them down, I've stuck down a few bricks, and hopefully with how warm it gets in here, the pipes will start wanting to stay that sort of shape, because if I take these bricks off, these pipes just flick up. So hopefully it works out, otherwise I'm gonna have to try and find some different pipe to use here, some straight lengths. Thank you for joining me on this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was something that was interesting to you, and we're gonna be kicking off the season properly, probably in the next week or two, when we get our plants into their final spots inside the big greenhouse and also inside this polytunnel. And then things are really going to start taking off. We're going to have a lot of growth, and I'm looking forward to it. So make sure you're subscribed so you can get updates when that starts happening. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again on the next video. Bye bye for now.
Old man, they're calling me